measuring stick just changed around here, buddy. You're looking at it.
You are now listening to the Outsiders Podcast, the most exciting and hard-hitting show on the net. And now, bringing it hard as always on the Kansas City Chiefs and the NFL, here are your hosts, Clint Schweitzer and Noah Groniger.
And welcome to our very special NFL Draft 2013 edition, Outsiders Podcast. Clint Schweitzer and Noah Groniger joining you. And do we have the goods today?
Oh, we have Charles Davis, a current Fox and NFL analyst.
Man, he's the best. Him and Gus Johnson on Fox on NFL Sundays is the best crew that Fox has. Believe me when I tell you. He's done college football over the years, former Tennessee Vol, and we're going to get him on talking draft. We could not have a better guest because he's going to be there covering the draft in just a few days here in New York City.
Exactly. He's on NFL Network with Path to the Draft, and he's going to be there in Radio City Music Hall calling the Chiefs pick. Hopefully not Luke Jokel.
Well, he's before he does that, he's going to come on and talk to us about the Chiefs' first pick, and going to be interesting. We're definitely going to ask him, obviously, what are the Chiefs going to do? We're interested as well. We think we know. You mentioned a name that...
Yes, probably Luke Jokel trading away Brandon Albert. We're going to talk about Geno Smith. Should the Chiefs take a chance on him? They've only had 2 franchise quarterbacks. We need another one. I don't think Alex Smith is it. So do we go Geno? We'll ask Charles Davis, because he's in the know.
And Mizzou fans, we got your back because we got to find out about Sheldon Richardson, a freakishly talented defensive tackle out of Missouri. We got your guys' back because we're going to ask Charles Davis what he thinks about Big Sheld's plans here this weekend.
And we also have 2 questions about 2 big question marks in this draft, Tyrann Mathieu and Marcus Lattimore.
That's coming up here in just a little bit. Of course, Noah and I are going to weigh in our opinions here on the draft. So, with the Kansas City Chiefs, we're talking about the first time we've ever had the first overall pick. We know what the Chiefs are going to do. They're going to do what the Chiefs have done for the last 40 years, which is why they're not a good franchise.
Take a stinky lineman.
Well, this is going to be the 8th lineman that the Chiefs will have taken since they've taken a quarterback in the first round. Here's an interesting stat for you. Chiefs have taken 8 linemen, first round, tackles, in the first round since 1983, only one of which played more than 6 years here. That was Big John Alt.
John Alt.
So the Chiefs, not only do they just do nothing but take tackles, they don't keep them. So it's apparently really important to draft these players, but then they just don't really care. We're going to give up Brandon Albert here either this week or before the draft, or on draft day, is going to be traded to the Dolphins or maybe Cardinals for that second round pick, which is good. The Chiefs need to get back in the second round. This is a good way to do it. But Noah, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Chiefs are creating a hole on their roster. They have Brandon Albert signed, franchise for a year. He is contractually obligated to play football for this team in 2013. So what they're going to do is create a hole, ship Albert out, and replace him with a guy, Luke Jokel, Eric Fisher, not as good, maybe.
I mean, I have a problem with it because those guys are unknown commodities. I mean, everyone in the draft is an unknown commodity because you don't know their work ethic for real when they get the big bucks and get into the NFL. You don't know their heart, how much they're going to put forth out on the field when they're making the huge money. So I say take the franchise quarterback or someone who could be a franchise quarterback, and that's Geno Smith. We don't have a franchise quarterback. You take one. That's what gets you to the playoffs. That's what gets you to the Super Bowl. Not a left tackle. Ask the Browns and Joe Thomas, the best left tackle in the NFL. The Browns have not sniffed the playoffs or the Super Bowl with him.
Well, here's what's sickening about it. Here we are sitting with the first pick. Could have any quarterback you want. Obviously, it's well documented. This is not the best quarterback draft. Blah, blah. We've heard all this from the Kuipers of the world. But here we are. Could have our pick of any of them. We're not going to take one. Once again, I don't think there's any ties to John Dorsey and Andy Reid to the previous regimes here, but this is what the Chiefs have done for 40 years.
And what's going to go on when we go 8-8, 9-7?
Well,
8-8. 6-10, 7-9.
Next year, the Chiefs will go 8-8, or right around, give or take.
We'll miss out on the great quarterback class next year. We'll still not have a franchise quarterback. Someday we'll get rid of Alex Smith in a couple years, and then we'll pick up Matt Moore from Miami or something. It's just going to be a disaster.
Yeah, next year when you're going to be talking about, Teddy Bridgewater, you're going to be talking about Aaron Murray and Johnny Manziel, guys like that coming out. It's going to be heralded as the greatest quarterback draft ever. The Chiefs will be picking 18th and have no way to move into that realm to get one of those guys. And I think that's what's been the frustrating part of the Chiefs organization for all these years, is their unwillingness to take a chance. They take linemen, offensive and defensive linemen, that's it. Safe picks.
Definitely don't take the quarterback. Let's take a Glenn Dorsey type of player instead. He's gone. Tyson Jackson. Well, he's probably going to be gone next year because of his cap number. They keep having to restructure every year because his cap number is just too high.
Brandon Albert's going to be gone, first-round pick.
Yep. Dontari Poe, we could have had a quarterback there, but instead, no.
Just had to have that lineman. That's what the Chiefs do. Now, the rest of this draft is going to be interesting because I think there is depth at other positions, tackle being one of them, defensive tackle is certainly another, and, Missouri's Sheldon Richardson coming in here. Obviously, I think a Sharif Floyd is going to go be the first defensive tackle taken. But what are your thoughts on some of the defensive ends? Because we've got, this kid from Oregon. We've got, the Texas A&M guy who fell off the map after running like a 9-second 40-yard dash or whatever he ran. What do you Moore I still think is going to go, obviously, in the first round. But guys like, what about Jarvis Jones? Here was a guy that was thought of to be maybe the first overall pick. Manti Te'o's dropped out of, that's what internet girlfriends get you, I guess.
Deion Jordan only has like 14.5 sacks during his career. So where are the sacks if he's a dominant defensive end? I'm not seeing it.
Well, I don't either. And, to me, you're looking at dynamic players in this draft, and especially ones that suit the Chiefs' needs. Although they did sign Sean Smith in the offseason, but I still like D. Milner, corner from Alabama, guys like that. But getting back to the linemen, they're going to have a choice to make there because it's going to be Jokel or Eric Fisher. Does it really matter? What do you see here?
I see Eric Fisher being the stronger candidate. I think he had a great Senior Bowl. He had a great pro day, great workout at the NFL Scouting Combine. And with the running quarterback, with Johnny Manziel, you see Luke Jokel, you see the defense is playing quarterback contain, which means they're not rushing really hard upfield and really challenging Jokel snap to snap. So I'm a little worried about that and not sure if he's ready, and maybe he'll struggle at left tackle, have to move him to right tackle, and really you took a right tackle with the first overall pick. Come on.
That's the thing. And maybe the Chiefs are still trying to figure out a way to move out of that first overall pick. We'll see. They may pull that off, and if they do, props to them. But if they are able to acquire a second-round pick, for Brandon Albert, at what point, what position do you go there? Do they move back into the realm of quarterback, or is it back to, best, the quarterback we targeted is off the board, Tyler Wilson, someone like that, just throwing out a name, and then it's just, I'll draft some defensive lineman from nowhere U.
That's probably what we'll do, but in the second round, I could see them hoping that E.J. Manuel slips, and they could take him, the quarterback out of Florida State. If he's not there, I would like them to take an inside linebacker because I'm not sold on Zach Dials, Akeem Jordan, or Ori Lemon, who we got from the Dallas Cowboys, some random guy, I don't know. So I'd like them to take an inside linebacker in the second round. Maybe Manti Te'o drops that far, I don't know. But
Alec Ogletree, he's probably going to be in the first round. I like Alec Ogletree a lot.
Yep.
A guy that if the Chiefs were able to drop down to, 13, 14, would love to see us pick up there. But, it remains to be seen. Always excited for the draft coming up here on Thursday night, guys, and coverage you can find on ESPN and NFL Network. We'll be watching NFL Network because our man Charles Davis is on there. We're getting ready to bring him on down. I think we got him on the line. So it's our pleasure to bring to you Charles Davis. Okay, and we are continuing to talk NFL draft, and who better to do it with than with current NFL on Fox and current NFL Network analysis. We have Charles Davis on right now. Charles, how are you doing? Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. I'm doing great. I hope you're doing the same.
Absolutely, gearing up for the draft. I'm sure you are ready to get down to New York City, and I know there's a lot going on for you right now, so we appreciate you joining us here for a few minutes. Of course, we're here in Kansas City covering the Chiefs, and Charles, I want to see if you can follow this logic right now. The Chiefs sit with the number 1 pick and are about to trade a left tackle and probably going to draft another left tackle to fill that void. Can you follow that logic at all, or do you think that's maybe something the Chiefs right now could be making a mistake by doing?
No, I actually can follow the logic because, if you've got a player that isn't super happy and if management, thinks that they can go ahead and replace that player and probably at a cheaper number because the rookie's wage scale isn't nearly what it used to be, right? Just a few short seasons ago. You got a younger player, potential, the whole thing. I get it. The big thing is for the Chiefs, you get a younger player in the draft and you're hoping if it's a trade, you're getting some additional value out of trading the player. So I do actually follow the logic.
Well, the Chiefs have only had 2 franchise quarterbacks, Len Dawson and Joe Montana, and it's rare you can acquire those type of quarterbacks via trade or free agency. And Alex Smith certainly isn't in their league. So isn't it time for the Chiefs to make a bold move in trying to acquire a franchise quarterback by drafting Geno Smith number 1 overall?
Well, the key would be, he's a franchise quarterback if you're the Chiefs brass. If you're John Dorsey, Andy Reid, and that crew, do you project him as a franchise quarterback? And acquired Alex Smith gives you a little bit of flexibility. The Alex Smith we've seen play over the last 2 years looks like a more than serviceable, some would even say an upper echelon quarterback in the NFL. Excuse me. What's interesting to me is that when Alex Smith finished in San Francisco, the last 4 he played, he was setting a passing record. So he didn't get benched strictly because of his play. He got benched just because Jim Harbaugh saw potential in his backup. He had an injury, and the backup played well in his stead, and Jim Harbaugh decided not to switch back and go to him. And, you look back at the franchise quarterbacks of the Chiefs, Len Dawson, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Len Dawson, Joe Montana, neither one of them was drafted by the Chiefs. They had to make a bold move to acquire them, and they caught Montana on the downside of his career, although he played pretty well for the Chiefs for a while there. And Len Dawson, of course, had come over from the NFL into the AFL, and that's where his game really increased. So it is difficult. Not just the Chiefs, who have had issues in trying to acquire and keep franchise quarterbacks. Most teams in the league are the Indianapolis Colts, who go from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. That's rare.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to go now to the SEC and specifically your former team, the Tennessee Volunteers, a couple of big-time receivers in this draft, and I want to get your thoughts on them. Of course, Cordarrelle Patterson and Justin Hunter. What do you think their prospects are right now, and which one do you think will fly off the board first?
Well, you would think that based on everything that's gone on during the time as we've led up to the draft, that Cordarrelle Patterson would be the first guy off the board. We'll see as we go along. From what I'm gathering, his position as the number 1 receiver may not be as solid as it was a month ago. Tavon Austin from West Virginia has really gotten this conversation. The more people are gathering information, the more I believe they're liking Justin Hunter, the other wide receiver from Tennessee. So we shall see. Now, Patterson is just a dynamic, explosive individual. 215 pounds of just raw fury when he goes out there and either runs reverses, catches passes, catches the bubble screens, catches the deep pass, turns kicks. I mean, last year he returned a punt and a kickoff for a touchdown, scored a touchdown on a running play, scored a touchdown catching a pass. The guy was just phenomenal. And Justin Hunter, this will be the second year after a major knee surgery for him, and he came back last year and played fairly well overall. Had some yips with his hands a little bit, but I think a lot of teams feel like that's going to clear up as he gains more and more confidence in the knee. So I would say that Patterson would be the first guy off the board out of the 2 of them, but that could easily happen with Justin Hunter to continuing to rise, I feel, to get closer to draft day.
Where would you feel comfortable drafting Tyrann Mathieu with all his problems at LSU, or would you even draft him at all?
I'd have a hard time drafting him. For me, with my team, I've got to say, what's my risk reward? And probably my threshold for drafting him is 4th round or beyond. I want to have as minimal risk as I can involved in this, and I need him to continue to prove over time that I can actually trust it. He went through the off-season process, and I think he went through it in pretty decent style. But you have to step back and wonder. The latest report where they were asking about, an assistant coach asked you about, how many drug tests you failed, and he said, yeah, I quit counting at 10.
Yeah, that says a lot.
I mean, really? And so at that point, when he's saying, yeah, but I'm clean now, I probably have a hard time just saying that that's really the case. We're going to need a little more empirical proof. Now, if you bring him into one of those strong, locker room places and turn him loose, maybe that'll work. But I'm not sure I really see what my upside is with him until I know that he's going to do a lot of things right. So as I said, 4th round and beyond, you're starting to get my attention. Anything beyond that, I'm probably passing on Tyrann Mathieu, especially now after that last report.
Do you see Marcus Lattimore returning to form and being a workhorse back for many years in this league, considering what Adrian Peterson just did?
I think it's two different things. I think it's a different deal. I mean, Peterson obviously had the knee torn up and came back, but he is just a different person. I call him Wolverine for his ability to regenerate. There aren't many of those guys out there. Remember, this is the second time Lattimore's had a monster knee injury, and this one, of course, was by far the worst. This is more like the Willis McGahee injury, where you just didn't know if he would come back at all. So I would say the odds would be hugely against him. I'm sure hope that he changes and reverses those odds and make sure that, we all say, hey, sorry, I didn't think you'd make it back. I have a very hard time believing that he can not just come back in the league, but be a lead back and be a workhorse type of a player. He's working awfully hard at it, but let's just put me down in the camp of saying I'm extremely skeptical that day can happen.
Another player I want to ask you about, a guy that's going to definitely go in the first round, another SEC school, of course. A lot of Missouri fans in our area want to know about big Sheldon Richardson from Missouri. Of course, Missouri joined the SEC and was not easy going for them, but Sheldon Richardson certainly shined on that defense. What are you hearing about Sheldon, and what do you think teams are going to, at what point do you think he's going to go in this first round?
Well, he's as good as he's a very good defensive tackle, and a lot of people are projecting him in different roles. Some people see him as a 5 technique and a 3-4. Some people see him as a 4-3 defensive end. Some people see him as a 4-3 defensive tackle at the 3 technique. He actually stood up and played some linebacker at Missouri. Personally, I see him as a 3 technique. I'd put him in there in the 4-3 and turn him loose. Let him go underneath and get the quarterback. I think that's his best role and his best attributes. When you look at the best tackles in this draft, Sharif Floyd from Florida, Starlo Tulele from Utah, and of course this guy, Sheldon Richardson. I don't see him lasting past 14 at Carolina, frankly. Would not shock me at all that if he gets to that point, if he gets that far, that Carolina, pounds the table and says, send in the card. We need to get started. We haven't had look at what they've had at defensive tackle in the last few years. Seems like a long time since Chris Jenkins left there and Maki Kimatu. They don't have that big guy inside who can help set the tone for defense. I think he'd be a huge building block for them if he lasts that long.
All right, Charles, we're going to go to our Outside the Huddle segment, and we're going to go back to your career at Tennessee, where you played with the likes of Reggie McKenzie, the current Oakland GM, former NFL players Terry McDaniel, Tim McGee, Anthony Miller, Jimmy Colquitt, the uncle of Britton and Dustin, the punters for Denver and Kansas City, and the great Reggie White. You also were coached by Ron Zook, Johnny Majors, Philip Fulmer, David Cutcliffe, Peyton Manning's quarterback guru during the offseason, and graduate assistant John Gruden. Do you have any stories or memories about them?
Oh, man, that feels almost like a This Is Your Life. It was just a wonderful time for me, a magical time when you look back. I had a chance to get a college education and play football in the SEC and play at one of the great institutions in terms of college football history at the University of Tennessee. And, you look back, I saw Reggie McKenzie in the office, and I just laughed to myself and think, my God, that's another guy that helped raise me at Tennessee. We miss Reggie White each and every day. That'll be a hole in our hearts that ache will never go away. But I could go on and on about different teammates, coaches, people that I've been associated with, and all of them gave themselves to me. And I hope that I gave myself back to them. And I took a lot of things from them, and I hope they took some good things from me. I hope. Anyway, but being a Tennessee Vol, I'm going to be, as we always talk about, we're Vols for life. And, I'm just hoping that my program makes it back onto the national scene as it's supposed to be. I have every confidence that it will with our brand new head coach, Butch Jones, whom I'm a big believer in. But I miss my guys each and every day, but I'm proud of them. We have a lot of guys out there accomplishing a lot of great things, both in the world of football and just in the game of life. And I'm just really, really proud of them and proud to be a Vol.
Well, Charles, we'll definitely want to get into that next time with you. Maybe talk some SEC football this summer. Can't wait to do that. And I'll tell you what, we didn't mention Tim Tebow or Manti Te'o, so not sure how official this football podcast is that we run here. But really, we can't thank you enough for your time today. And we hope you had fun, and we sure hope we can do it again with you. And good luck. We'll definitely be watching the NFL Network starting this Thursday for all your analysis, which, by the way, we believe is some of the best in the business. So we cannot thank you enough, Charles.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Well, we'll be watching, and good luck with all the stuff you got going on in New York. We'll be watching.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
You too.
And great to catch up with Charles Davis. Really good stuff. Insight on the draft. Stuff you can only get right here on the Outsiders podcast, guys. We are bringing it to you with our guest, Charles Davis.
I couldn't believe researching him that he played with Reggie White his freshman year, played with Reggie McKenzie, the current Raiders general manager, and that John Gruden was a graduate assistant his senior year, so he was getting scowled at his senior year by John Gruden.
Maybe we could get some quarterback camp connections from Charles. Maybe he can throw us Gruden's number or something for next year.
Yeah, or we can always go hang out with Peyton Manning and David Cutcliffe, his quarterback guru, who
connections
was on the
everywhere.
Staff, so that was great.
Well, I think he, the questions have been answered. I think Charles maybe disagrees with us a little bit. I think he is all for this Brandon Albert thing, moving Brandon Albert out.
Saying Brandon Albert's not happy, you can get a younger guy, maybe a little healthier. Maybe he could be a Joe Thomas, which would be an upgrade from Brandon Albert, but he could also be a flameout, a bust. So you just don't know, and I'd rather take the chance on the franchise quarterback in Geno Smith.
When in doubt, I am always in favor of a franchise quarterback, and I'm going to be screaming about this until the Chiefs finally do it.
Geno could bust too, but I'd rather take a chance on him than Luke Jokel.
A lot of teams have taken multiple chances. We saw the Lions try Joey Harrington, it didn't work, and Matthew Stafford. So, guys are taking, teams, you have that opportunity. You have a draft every year. You can, and with the people that the Chiefs have taken, we talked about Glenn Dorsey, Don Terry Poe,
Tyson
Jackson. Would you trade all three of those guys for, Andrew Luck? In a heartbeat, you would. Those are 3 picks, not near as good as having a quarterback to me. So, we'll see what the Chiefs are able to do. And, kind of get a good glimpse of what the Chiefs are going to be after this draft, because we've had free agency go on. They've made some signings. Some of them I think I liked. Some of them were iffy. Do you think right now, as you look at this team, is this an 8-8 football team going into 2013?
I think 10-6 is the absolute highest possible ceiling that they could ever hope for.
Yeah.
And but I projected them out at either 8-8 or 9-7. It depends on how well the Chargers are this year. And also, it always depends on injuries. You never know what could happen. You don't know how a team's going to come out in the year. But as of right now, I project them 8-8 or 9-7.
Well, here we are, just a couple of days from the NFL draft, a day that's so special to so many college athletes that their dreams come true. And we wish all of them luck. All the ones in New York City right now, getting ready for their big day, their big moment. Wish we were there covering it for you guys, but we're going to be tweeting all sorts of nonsense as the draft goes on. Watching NFL Network. Charles Davis has got your back. The NFL Network's got your back. And the Outsiders podcast has your back. Guys, we appreciate you checking out our, draft edition 2013 here on the Outsiders podcast. Whoa, we're going to go out to some Beethoven. Listen to the Beethoven. That's all you guys got to know. Cliff Schweitzer, Noah Groniger. Hit us up on all of our social networks. Noah, what are they? We got Facebook, Twitter, our website, outsiderspodcast.weebly.com.
At Chiefs Outsiders on Twitter and Facebook.com/The Outsiders Podcast.
Listen to the Beethoven.